Nothing we say is investment advice. Please pause on all 3 pages of this disclaimer and read it.
Greetings, Algo Artisans. Going to be a relatively slow week and a relatively quick video. So let's jump right into it. We're going to take a look at Bitcoin, Solana, EURUSD, GBPUSD, USDJPY, SP500 Futures, Dow Futures, NASDAQ Futures, Gold, and Silver. Let's go ahead and take a look at the economic data that's coming out that could affect the charts when it comes out. And there's not much of it. We have Monday, almost nothing happening on Monday, just a little bit of news regarding the Chinese yuan. Tuesday, nothing, it's a bank holiday. Wednesday, nothing, it's a bank holiday. Thursday, 8:30 AM EST are the unemployment claims for the USD. And given how short and slow this week is, I doubt there's going to be any real opportunity to make money on that. You never know. But I'll probably not trade at all this week. Very, very high probability that I just do other work this week. Friday, similarly, there is a little bit of data coming out at 10 AM EST for ISM manufacturing data. So let's look at the charts. Now, the predictions this week for me don't necessarily matter. I don't plan to do any trading. There's always that chance that something happens and I can take advantage of it. There's always that chance that, as the thumbnail suggests, we might see some incoming volume for Bitcoin. And it's something that I've talked about a little bit last week, where when nobody's watching, New Year's Eve, maybe Christmas Eve, you'll see a large move. We did see some notable moves on Christmas, the day after, the day before, just a couple of small pumps, small dumps, probably grabbing some liquidity. These two large candles that you see here and there. That's kind of what I was talking about, but I did expect to see something bigger, if anything at all. I expected a bigger move to happen while nobody's looking. Didn't happen, may not happen, may happen, we'll see. But I'm expecting a lot of ranging price action, just like we saw last week. You can see the candle stayed within this 99 to 92,000 range. And it's a good chance they'll stay there, but if it does break out, I'm expecting a breakout to the downside. Now, there is some liquidity up towards 97,000, which is the midpoint of this range, this rectangle that we see right here. However, price may not have enough energy to push up towards that. So if anything, I think it's going to bounce, stay low, and head down. And you can see the prior prediction was relatively accurate, moved in the same direction, just it did it at a little bit higher of a level. Came down, bounced up, came back down. So I was relatively accurate on that on the prior week. So we'll go ahead and get rid of the prior week's predictions and we'll move forward and look at Solana. Solana, similarly, I did expect more down from Solana. I expected Solana to head down a bit more, but what we will sometimes see is that as Bitcoin settles down into a range, you'll see some of the altcoins start to do well, and it could be that Solana is getting ready to fire up. I know some pretty good traders thought it wouldn't go below 200, and they took some longs there, and I respect that. I had some data in the algos that told me that wasn't the time to go long, but it was still a pretty good long, so respect. However, you can see here that I expected price to head down, and it did not do so. It's flattened out as much as the market has. And that's just an indication of all the large players not playing, and retail is just kind of pushing price back and forth between what is basically 180 and 200. And I expect to see more of the same. We could see it move up if Bitcoin remains stable. We could see Solana go ahead and pop its head above 200. It also could break downwards. If Bitcoin breaks down in a hard way, Solana should follow and should be a little bit more violent proportionately. Let's take a look at EURUSD. Okay, so here we are, the red rain that I had from the week before, this move down I expected, and it did happen. It happened more quickly than I thought due to Jerome Powell and his hawkishness. So that pushed things down in the markets as a whole, anything against the USD, because the expectation would be that the dollar gets stronger and everything against it gets comparatively weaker. And I do expect either price to range or head down. I don't expect a lot of up. It could pop up a little bit to grab liquidity from this prior range that we have, this blue rectangle up higher. We could see price go to grab liquidity there, but for the meantime, I don't expect any major moves up. I expect a ranging price action or a possible break downward as predicted 2 or 3 weeks ago. This prior prediction that is now in this reddish color, that was a few weeks ago. I normally don't predict out more than a week, but I predicted out 2 or 3 weeks, and so far it's been relatively accurate. And let's take a look at the cable, aka GBPUSD. And here we are, prior week's predictions. Again, it happened more quickly than I thought. It more went along these contingencies due to Jerome Powell. Let's go ahead and get rid of those prior weeks now. I think I'll stick with the ranging price action or breaking down. Always a chance price may break up to grab liquidity from the prior ranges above, but I do expect generally sideways to down. USDJPY was pretty darn accurate with that, going back several weeks, going back to the beginning of December, and it's done nothing but follow what I said, more or less, and I do expect a bit more bullishness, but nothing goes up forever, and we do see ourselves right at the top of a resistance, so it could be that there's a break above, as there already has been, but more of a break above, and a pullback to grab liquidity down at this 156 level, which is the peak from mid-November. Either that, or it's probably just going to head up, because the dollar is getting strong, and despite the hawkish talk of the Bank of Japan, rate decision is over for this month, and so I do expect price to head up. In the meantime, it might not head up a ton because we are in that very quiet time. As you can see here this last week, it was just mostly ranging price action with a bullish tint to it. Let's move on to SP500. Again, I expect ranging price action SP500. Anytime we see a breakdown, the plunge protection team has jumped in and grabbed it. At least that's what I'm assuming has happened. Powell talked, things dumped, and then you see this big move back up into this same range. So I do expect things to remain stable for the meantime. It could really do anything though, and again, indices can be a little bit tough to predict due to things like the plunge protection team. But I do expect price to find a range, whether it's this one that I drew or one that might cover these other dotted lines, these contingencies outside of that. There's a lot of ranging price action going back to early November, and where I drew here is where a lot of that price action is. So anywhere between 59.30 all the way up to 6,100 near the all-time high. I would expect price to range in that area for the whole week and maybe even next. Let's look at the Dow. Dow Jones showing a little bit more bearishness than I thought. I'm going to get rid of the prior week. Again, the Dow did take a hit. It was outperforming, and now it's had its time to go ahead and pull back compared to the other indices. I did think things would pop up, but Jerome Powell did knock everything down, and then it popped up afterwards. I do expect more of the range, but there's a little bit more bearishness for the Dow compared to, say, SP500. So I expect a range to develop going anywhere from 42,500 all the way up to 43,600, but it could get stopped at this midpoint right here, which is about 43,100, and just range about in there. Again, anything can happen. Plunge protection could just pump it up. Market events could cram it down, but this is what I'm expecting, provided there is no surprise in the markets like we had with Powell last week. NASDAQ seeming to find a range. It spent a lot of time outperforming last year, and then it needed to catch its breath compared to the other indices as I get rid of the prior week predictions here. And remember, tech outperformed for a lot of the year, then it caught its breath and underperformed compared to the other indices. Right now, it seems as if price is going to range like everything else, but I don't think it's going to break below 21,160. While it very well could, it would require a market event or perhaps just a lot of volume coming in. I would expect it to get caught by the plunge protection team, so I'm expecting ranging price action just like everything else. Let's take a look at gold, and I do expect the same with gold, ranging probably between 25.90 and about 26.60. I expect not a lot to happen. Same with silver. Maybe a little bit more down, but I think it'll get held above 28.70. If it doesn't, it might pop down to 27.60. Otherwise, I expect a range in this area. As slow as this week will be, you never know. There could be events that push price past what I was talking about. And again, I'm not going to be trading much, if at all, over this week. This is time that I take to backtest or develop other parts of my businesses. It's also a time to spend with family. So with that, I'm going to wish everybody a nice, lovely, happy New Year's. Many happy returns. I do expect 2025 to be pretty profitable. I expect markets to do pretty well in 2025. You never know. There could be some kind of unexpected event, but if nothing unexpected happens, I expect 2025 to be solid for markets as a whole. Bitcoin itself will probably finish its bull cycle, and it might flatten out and even drop towards the end of the year because Bitcoin does have its 4-year cycle. However, the big money is now in. Officially, I think they've been in for longer than they're telling us, but officially the big money is in with these spot ETFs, and we must understand that things could be different. Those are always famous last words in trading. This time it's different, so I don't bet on that, but I just understand that it could happen. And because I am more of a short-term trader, fortunately, this does not affect me. I do take my wins. I roll them into value assets like gold, silver, real estate, Bitcoin. So I am an investor as well, but I just put money in value and leave it there. Head on over to algofactory.tech. We can actually show you how I make these predictions. As you can see, they're pretty darn accurate. Most of the time, I do know how to predict movements in the market. And when I can predict movements in the market, I can extract money from the market. The times that I'm incorrect, I limit my losses. The times that I win bigger than I lose, and I win more often than I lose. So if you head over to algofactory.tech, we can teach you how we trade like hedge fund professionals. So come on over, we'll see you there, and we'll catch you on the flip side.